I wanted to officially take the time to say welcome to KD Richards. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the name game. It was nice getting to know everyone a little bit and hearing the stories.
We're definitely going to want to play the name game with you in our after hours happy hour portion of it, in the Q&A with our other readers.
No problem.
For some of our readers and listeners who are new to you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into writing?
I credit my mother, but I think my father probably had just as much of a hand in that. But my mother was an English teacher, so a high school English teacher. So we were the kids that always had to read before you could go out and play, before you could do any of the fun stuff, watch TV or play video games. You had to read for half an hour, which works for me. I love reading anyway. So I was always a big reader. And then one day I just thought, I can do this, as kids do. I can do that. So I wrote my first story, and the love of writing came from the love of reading. So I was writing, that was about 11 years old. So I've been writing since I was 11. And at one point wanted to be a writer and then thought it's hard and most people don't make it. And I should probably have a backup plan. And the backup plan became the actual plan. And then I had a career, but I always kept writing and eventually thought, well, if you're going to get published, you should do it. I just turned 40 and I thought, let's just see. If you don't try, you're never going to get. They're not going to just knock on your door and ask to publish your book. So that book that I sent off was Pursuit of the Truth. And luckily, Harlequin liked it and bought it and wanted more. And now we're on the fourth book. I'm really excited about that and happy that I finally took the leap and sent the manuscript out.
I remember the last time that you visited with us, part of the impetus for doing that was the pandemic. And that you said, hey, I have the time. So it's kind of like, if I'm not going to do it now, let's go for it. We're now a lot further along. And like you said, your fourth book. Yes. What's been different with this book compared to your first set of books when the pandemic was still very early on? Or have you noticed a difference?
There's definitely a difference. It's a lot easier to write when the kids are back in school than it is to write when they're right there talking to you at the same time. So there's definitely a difference. And it's the more you write, the better you get. So I know my system a little bit better. And in that sense, it's easier. But then it's also harder in the sense that I've got to keep coming up with ideas and I have a deadline now and people expect things of me. And it's not just a dream. It's a contract that I've signed and things have to get done in a certain order in a certain time. In that sense, it's turned into a job, but a dream job for me. I'm lucky that I'm able to do it full time. So it's been wonderful.
And I also remember you were saying when you got the news of your first sale that you literally fell off the bed because you couldn't believe the reaction.
I literally fell off the bed.
What about now when you hear from the publisher?
Now I'm still not literally falling off the bed, but I'm still just as excited every time they say, yeah, we want more. There's always that feeling like they're going to eventually be like, thanks very much, but we're done. Thank you. With each book, there's a fear that people won't like it and that'll be the end. With anything that you wanted for 30 years, if you finally get it, then you're afraid a little bit like, am I a fraud? Is that just a one-hit wonder? There's always those doubts and you're putting a little bit of yourself out every time you publish a book. So when people say they don't like it, it does hurt a little bit. But not everybody's going to like it and you have to develop a thick skin. So far, so good. And hopefully I keep writing things that readers want to read, books that readers want to read.
I think we all deal with that imposter syndrome also, yeah. Right? And at certain times we all feel like we're that girl back in high school and oh my gosh, what is everybody thinking about it? And even more because like you said, you're putting yourself out there and it's not just a case of what it is that you're doing. These are characters you're developing and stories you're coming up with. How do you get past that then? Or do you suffer from a writer's block or kind of one of those paralysis from analysis areas of that you've got to get the words down on the page? How do you do that?
I don't suffer from writer's block as much as I suffer from imposter syndrome. I do, oh, this sucks. This is horrible. Nobody's going to like it. That's going to be the end of my career. I'm going to have to go find something else to do it myself. But usually I'll spin myself up. It's just maybe my process. I'll spin myself up into such a fury that it's being a little ridiculous. You get to the point where you're like, probably all of that's not going to happen. And then I could take a couple of days away from the manuscript and go, this is not so bad. It's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, it needs work, but I can see once you step away from it for a while, you can see what you need to fix and where you need to work on it and come back to it. I, just like anybody, I deal with with those anxieties, and I want people to like me and like my books and love my characters and want to read more. And you go through that little fear that maybe they won't. But yes, stepping away from it is the easiest way for me to go read someone else, right? Or to watch television. Television is my big, the way I step away from, because even reading other books, I could get into this person is so great. And I'm not going to be nearly as, my book's not going to be nearly as good as this book. If I'm watching TV, that's a totally different genre, and I'm able to like completely unplug from the writing side. So that's generally what I do when I hit those walls.
And I remember you also saying that you were a mood reader, depending on what mood, it was kind of like what books that you picked up. Does that also happen with when you're watching TV? And does that then translate, or does it help you get into the right mood for when you're writing?
Absolutely. I'm definitely a mood reader, a mood TV watcher. I have to be in the mood for comedy or true crime. I love true crime. But if I'm not in the mood for it, it won't hold my attention. Fantasy, pretty much anything except horror. I can go through them all, but it's easier to just say anything but horror. I'll watch and I'll read anything but horror. Sci-fi to some extent. That's like I do read sci-fi, but that's maybe the genre that I read and watch the least. But occasionally the mood will hit me and I'll want some sci-fi. Yeah, it's pretty similar. I never thought about it that way. But yeah, I guess I'm consistent across the different kinds of entertainment.
And does that make a difference when you're writing your book? Because again, you're going through a lot of different emotions with the storyline, and you've got the highs and lows with the suspense. Do you jump around while you're writing it, or are you pretty much putting it together as the timeline has been plotted out?
Jump around as in the story that I'm writing? Yes. Not usually, because I'm just a very linear thinker, and so it's very difficult. Even if I know what's going to happen, if I've tried before, sometimes I'll know like very clearly what the ending of the story is going to be, but I'm maybe in the middle and I don't really know how I'm going to get there. So I'll think, well, if you write the end, maybe you'll figure out, it'll become clear that all the parts that need to go before that. But that never works, because then I'm always worried about, but you don't know what happened before this. You don't know what happened before. So I can't get my mind to stop thinking linear, and I just end up spending a lot of time worried about what I haven't written. So I don't do that anymore. And it's just wasting time. I sketch out really quick so I don't forget what I think the end is going to be. And then I just work through it, what has to come first. Yeah. I will go back and revisions. And sometimes you've changed something, and so you have to change what happened at the beginning to make the end make sense. But I usually leave that to the revisions.
How much do you think that your legal background has really helped with the stories that you write? And I know that you were a lawyer, but I'm not sure what area of law that you focused on.
I practice corporate law.
Okay.
So it's not terribly helpful. I did go to law school, so I do know criminal, like just enough to be dangerous and get things very wrong. But I'm lucky I have a couple friends who are still practicing and who have practiced criminal law, so I'll call them and say, hey, I think I remember this is how it works, but I'm not 100%. And then oftentimes they'll tell me that what I'm doing makes no sense and the cops wouldn't do that, or a PI would get in trouble. I'll still do it because it's a story and it's easier that way. And the way they told me I had to do it was laborious and boring, and nobody wants to read that. So I have to take some license and artistic license and do it anyway, do it wrong anyway. But so I think it helps, but it also can hurt because you can get into writing exactly how it should be done and find yourself going, this is a snooze fest. It's accurate, but it's a snooze fest. Nobody wants to read this. So I don't want to read this, and I've written it. It's a double-edged sword.
Well, one thing with the new book, Shielding Her, these are the things I blame for all of my fantasies on it, because one of the plot points here is you've got this dark, mysterious stranger, and it's okay, why is he here? What's going on? And I have to admit, whenever I have a new neighbor, I start spinning these stories myself. Oh, now this is going to be my Prince Charming, and it's like, what is his dark, mysterious past? And normally it's like, no, he's a computer programmer. Nothing.
He's an accountant.
Right. Okay, whatever. Still looking, still hoping. So what was the inspiration for you behind this story?
So this one I knew was going to be James. Really was the inspiration behind the story. I'm working through all the brothers, and I was like, it's James's time. He had gotten under my skin, and I knew a little bit about him from the last two stories where he was talked about, and then he popped up in the last one a little bit too. So I knew I wanted to be about him. I knew he had gotten out of the military based on the last story. I knew he was struggling with that a little bit. And so I wanted to take him out of New York, which is his comfort zone. I wanted to give him a moral problem in that he was called upon to tell a fib. And then it turns out he's fibbing to someone he kind of cares about now. But he continues to do it because he has an obligation to his brothers and the farm. And I had all of that story based around him and what I wanted him to go through. And then Erica was born out of that and needed a strong woman who was capable of, I didn't want her to just throw up her hands when she found out he had lied to her and said, I love you, so I forgive you. I wanted her to be upset, really upset. And so I wanted to be a strong woman who stood up for herself. So that's the dueling characters that I was dealing with in my head when I was.
I know that's one of the things that a lot of our readers are always looking for in these stories too. They want that strong woman. So they don't want somebody that's just going to roll over and say, all right. You want that they're going to stand up for themselves and have that. Yeah, there might be conflict, but it's going to make for a better overall story.
Yeah. And then you have to have something because in a romance, you're going to have happily ever after. So you already know the big picture, what the end is going to be. So why should I keep reading? That's what you have to give your readers. Why should they continue to read the book? And so hopefully Erica and James butt heads enough. We can see that they love each other, they care for each other, but they butt heads enough to make it interesting. And
it does make for interesting people watching it. So you start coming up with your own little, what about this person? What about that person? And there must be some hidden background,
kind of all writers, right? We're and even readers to some extent. We're all like, who that person could be, or some little innocuous thing is happening next door, and then you like build this whole story around it. Oh no, that was my brother.
Also, talking about some interesting background. Are you still playing the violin? Have you
gotten away from it? I keep saying I'm going to get back to it, but I've gotten away from it. It's just the deadlines, the books, different book deadlines, kids stuff. I don't have as much time as ironically, I don't have as much time as I did during the pandemic. I was really doing a great job during the pandemic because you couldn't go anywhere. There was nothing else to do. It was just home all the time. But now we're back to basketball practice and football practice and all that stuff.
Yes, as things get back to the same.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got to carve out some time to get back into it.
Merging into some of our fresh fiction facts. Considering things are getting back to normal, then how do you unwind now after a good or bad writing day?
I probably don't unwind, which may be a problem, but television really is my big sort of, okay, I'm done with writing. I'm just gonna lay on the couch. I love Pepsi. So I'm gonna have a Pepsi. I'm not a big drinker, like an alcohol drinker. If I'm out with friends or we're at dinner or something, I'll have a drink, but I'm not a wine after dinner kind of girl, but I'm definitely like a Pepsi after dinner kind of girl. I get a Pepsi, lay on the couch, veg out, watch television, and just not think about work, not write, not think about stories, characters, or what my neighbors do. I have stories about them.
So is TV then your biggest distraction when you're trying to avoid writing even?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Avoid writing, avoid the husband, avoid kids, whatever. TV works very well for avoiding. I think it's still the story. It's still that there's a story, there's a beginning and end. I have a fairly short attention span. So you have to keep, and TV works for that. You have to keep things moving along. So not so much movies, but television shows.
Okay. I'm going to change this question a little bit because normally we do ask about movies. What is the trashiest or worst TV show that you absolutely love watching?
The trashiest or worst TV show? I don't really watch trashy, but I love the true crimes. It doesn't really matter can get a little gory, but I love the true crime shows where they're like really diving into anything that's looking into serial killers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not crazy, I'm not a killer, but I do. How did they find them? If they found them, if they didn't, sometimes it's even more interesting. Why didn't they figure out who the serial killer is? Who is this person? One of the stories that I still, whenever a book comes out or a story comes out about, or TV show comes, a documentary comes out about the Black Dahlia,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, I just want to know what happened. I have to know. Somebody has to solve this crime. Of course, it's probably never. It's way too late. Jack the Ripper, like any of those that like have been for so long, and the likelihood is like 0% at this point. But I'm still Lizzie Borden. At one point, I've always been interested in the Lizzie Borden story. And at one point, my mom was like, "I'm getting concerned." It's just a lot. Yeah, it's just like there's a lot of books coming in, and there's what is going on. I'm like, I'm perfectly normal 13-year-old child. I want to solve this crime.
Well, there's a lot of those unsolved mysteries out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love those. So that's my weird kind of guilty pleasure. Don't really want people walking in and seeing, what are you watching? I'm concerned.
We've got a lot of fans in our book club of those types of stories also. And some of our additional name game bonus questions have certainly gone off into some of those strange rails of, okay, and what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I understand that.
What is your favorite errand on your day off?
My favorite errand, I don't know if this qualifies as an errand, but returning books to the library, because it usually means I'm going to get more books to the library. I plan around that. I got to leave ample time. I'm not just a dropper offer. I got to go in. I got to see what's on the shelves. So that's definitely my favorite, with the second favorite being the bookstore, but I don't know if that qualifies as an errand for anybody other than like me, who you don't have to go to the bookstore, but I have to go to the bookstore.
I always hated the bookstore because I was always limited when growing up, as you can only get one book. And it's like, how could I choose? Which kind of leads me to my question about when you go to the library. Are you one of those people that you're only picking up 1 or 2 books, or are you leaving with a stack of books where everyone else is like, how are you going to read that in the amount of time?
I take 2 of the larger grocery bags, and usually I leave with them filled. Especially since my library during COVID, and they haven't changed this yet, extended the borrowing period to 10 weeks. So
10 weeks?
10 weeks. So I'll stack up. Now, usually I will go back during that 10-week period and I'll drop off the ones that I read, and then I'll get some more. And so I don't keep them all for 10 weeks. But there's the occasional one, because again, a mood reader, if the mood doesn't strike, then I might have it for 6 or 7 weeks, and before I get to it. But yeah, I love the extended period of 10-week borrowing periods. Great.
At one of my local libraries, they actually got rid of the due dates almost completely. So I mean, they would give you like, here's when it's due, but there's no fines associated with it. So then during the pandemic, they got rid of it completely, saying
no due date at all.
No due date at all.
How do they get it's funny that you mentioned that, because my library hasn't gotten rid of no due dates, but I've seen a lot of libraries that not no due dates, no fines. I've seen a lot of libraries that have, and I always think, but that's how Blockbuster ended up going down, because with no fines, nobody brought their movies back. And then you can't have a movie rental store without books, without movies. Maybe we need, I don't want to find people.
Well, but I had 3 books that were checked out like throughout the entire pandemic. And so they finally did send a notice saying that you have to, okay, you got to bring them back, or else you can't check out anything else.
I got you. Okay. So that would do it. So I was wondering, what do they use as the stick to get people to bring them back? But if they they would definitely get me to bring them back. If they want me to bring them back, they need a due date. They need to tell me due date. The shorter the due date, the faster I'll bring them back, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, back to the facts. All right.
We took an aside.
Talking about libraries and books, we could go on for hours.
Forever.
On that, right?
I love that's my 2 favorite places.
What is the clothing or accessory that everyone hates, but you secretly love?
High heels. I love my heels. Now, that said, nobody can see, but you could probably tell I'm not super tall at all. I fudge and say I'm 5 feet. You know how tall I can fudge to get to 5 feet.
Gotcha.
So I love my heels, which don't make me like all that much taller, but it makes me feel good. It makes me feel tall, or as tall as I'm gonna get. So I love my heels.
If you suddenly found yourself stranded on a desert island, what 3 things would you absolutely have to have with you?
Books. Can I have Wi-Fi? I don't know if that's something I can take to a desert island. Books, Wi-Fi, and my cell phone.
Okay. What luxury item can you not live without?
Luxury item. Car. I don't know if that's a luxury item, but it can be depending on what kind of car you have. Mine is a Ford. It's not really, I don't know if that qualifies, but I do love my car.
What is the most unnecessary thing that you've ever bought online?
Oh, I don't even know. That's a stumper. I don't know the most unnecessary thing I've ever.
We always have to throw at least one stumper in there.
Yeah. I'm not a big shopper, so I think that's probably why it stumped me. Books are like the biggest thing that I buy for the most part. I don't know. I don't have anything that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Maybe I'll keep thinking on it. We'll come back for that one.
I know you're a big music fan.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite one-hit wonder?
Oh gosh. Most of the music I like is classical. You know, not about them as a one-hit wonders. Yes, I do. Is that Milli Vanilli, the Girl It's True song?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I was listening to that the other day. Good song. I love the song, but I don't know if it's more just because it's like it brings back childhood memories.
Yes.
Like, and so it was a big thing. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's a good song. I was dancing the other day. It came on when I was in the store. So I'm gonna pick that one because I think it was a Milli Vanilli song. But yeah.
And like you said, it was a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does bring back lots and lots of memories.
Exactly. Exactly. You never think about it unless you hear it. That's why I think it qualifies. They might have technically had other hits, but you don't really think about Milli Vanilli unless you hear a song. They're gone.
Yeah. I think that fits the question, definitely.
I hope so.
Where do you consider your ideal paradise?
Only one? I guess I would say the beach. If I had to pick, it could be a beach anywhere though. Paris, Italy. I would love multiple different beaches, but definitely a beach chair, a breeze, definitely.
Somebody to bring you lots and lots of
Pepsis, lots of Pepsi. Yes.
Let's see. I want to give you another really good one. Okay.
Stump me again.
Not too bad of a stump. Okay. It's a good general question. What is the best advice that you've ever received?
Some variation of just do it because I spend a lot of time. Should I do this? And I'm worried about the outcome and just thinking about the future and planning and trying to like guess the future and make sure that everything is gonna go okay. And of course, I don't have a crystal ball and no way of knowing the future, so that can be somewhat paralyzing. So I think the best advice is to and I have the quote is something about, I can't remember, and then I'm not in my office right now, but I have it on my wall that says, you might just have to do it scared. Oh, you might, I know it. You might not get over the fear, you might just have to do it scared. And so that's
I like that. Yeah.
My best advice. It might be scary. It might always be scary. So are you gonna just be scared or are you gonna do something? Yeah.
So how can our readers best keep in touch with you and find out what's going on?
I am most active on Instagram. I love Instagram. So that's the best way. It's KD Richards Author and on Instagram. It's also KD Richards Author on Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook too, but I really like the pictures on Instagram. Keep me there, pull me in and keep me there. So those are the two best ways. And if you want to find out about the books, all of the books in the series and the standalone thriller that I've written, you can go to my website, and that's kdrichardsbooks.com.
And what should our readers be on the lookout for
next? The next book, the 5th in the series, the West Investigation series, will be out at the end of December 27th. So look for that right around Christmas, a little bit after Christmas, but still great for Christmas present. And that book is called Dark Water Disappearance. So you should be seeing the cover come out soon.
Oh, definitely keep an eye out for that then. All right, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to you sticking around for taking some questions with our readers during our after party.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.